Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Dolly Parton has always been outspoken and has a great Southern sense of humor, and she said this, I quote, "After Mama gave birth to 12 of us kids, we put her up on a pedestal. It was mostly to keep Daddy away from her." Morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. And a good morning to you and yours. Zeb at the Ranch on a Wednesday, April the 11th, and brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations with a big spring tire sale going on right now. And also some of our great advertisers, including Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, the voice from the other room.
Yes.
Hi, Gina.
How are you?
Would you do, please, the honor of the Pledge of Allegiance?
I would love to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Long time no talk to.
No, I know.
And you're going to be here temporarily.
I'm going to be here temporarily. Then my brother's going to come in and be overseeing the board, and then pretty much the same for tomorrow and Monday.
You almost said overseeing you, and, at my age, maybe that's not such a bad idea. I don't know.
We all kind of need an overseer every once in a while.
Age is a nasty, nasty gift that we all receive. How do you like that for words of insight?
There you go.
Yeah. I tell you what we're going to do right now. We're going to head for the weather, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. Right there. You couldn't miss it if you had blinders on. Burley Paul Highway, and Roger and the crew get there early in the morning at 7 o'clock to help you with all the best tools and equipment that you need for your various projects. So give them a call. Stop in 678-3122. K&R Rental. Let's find out what the weather's going to be.
Today is going to be the calm before the storm, windstorm that is. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Partly sunny skies for today. We are expecting a high of 62. Winds out of the west-southwest right around 15 miles an hour. Gusts possible as high as 24 miles an hour. For tonight, in come the rain showers mostly after midnight with a low of 38. Winds are going to be picking up tonight because tomorrow we are going to be in a wind advisory. Winds could gust as high as 50 miles an hour. Steady out of the west, right around 20 miles an hour. 60% chance of rain showers. Little to no snow accumulation is expected, but we're only going to see a high of 45. For tomorrow night, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 30. Wind should be dying down just a little bit. For Friday, mostly sunny skies with a high of 50. And for Friday night, mostly clear with a low of 31. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Well, let's cover all 4 seasons in the next 48 hours. Holy smoke, snow, wind, hail, sunshine, clouds, you name it, we're going to have it. And the weather brought to you this hour by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. You know, they've got all your power rakes, rototillers to get the gardens ready, lawnmowers, forklifts, power tools, the list goes on. Stop over and see those good folks. K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. Or call 678-3122. Your calls are welcome and appreciated. Normally, I would say, okay, everybody give me a call, but today it's you'd be saving a life. I'm about ready to go to sleep this morning. You ever have one of those days where you wake up in the middle of the night, you cannot go back to sleep, and you start thinking about, well, I got to do this, and I've got to do that, and I better get this taken care of tomorrow, and then that alarm goes off, and, oh, man, right about now, that was 5 hours ago almost that I woke up with the alarm, and I'm tired. So help me out. Give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We're going to be talking about John Kennedy, representative of Louisiana. I want to talk about him in just a moment. Actually, he's a senator from Louisiana, and really kind of a flower in the middle of weeds yesterday during that Senate hearing for Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook, and I'll explain why in just a minute. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459, and they get there early in the morning at 7:30, and they stay there till 5 in the afternoon, serving you with all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. And it goes beyond saying that they've been serving everybody here in the Valley for well close to 60 years. That is quite an accomplishment. The best. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Also want to acknowledge real quick, if you're hungry, and boy, I am, that little bowl of cereal earlier this morning didn't last long, but I'll tell you what, if you want to have something that'll really make you feel good and stick to your ribs, don't forget Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley. Ho, ho, ho. It's true America's Diner. Oh, pick up the menu, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, anytime, all the time. Great service, too. Really nice people serving you at Denny's Restaurant. They've got another location, too, at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Denny's Restaurant, it's true America's Diner. I don't know how many of you watched that Senate hearing yesterday with Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook and trying to go into the ins and outs of his company and why they are so influential and so powerful and making so much money, but yet their censorship value right now is absolutely scary. Example, if you're not following the news, Diamond and Silk are a couple of black ladies that are very conservative, and I have listened to all of their different statements. I've watched them on television. They are very conservative, but yet very professional in their attitude, the way they're displayed. But Facebook and Zuckerberg, they decided to start censoring Diamond and Silk and take them to the point where they made a quote that they are hazardous and dangerous to the community. So in other words, if they weren't liberal, they were considered to be hands off, better put a censorship on them. Well, they're fighting back. Let me tell you, they're fighting back, and they're not going to be censored. And anyway, while this hearing was going on yesterday, John Kennedy, senator from Louisiana, like I said, we need a ton more like him. He's a good old boy, a good old country boy with a sense of humor. And they said, now we will defer to Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, and he leaned on his elbows and his shirt sleeves, and he looked at Zuckerberg, and he said, and I'm paraphrasing, please bear with me, he looked right at Zuckerberg and said, you know, your company and the way you treat people, it sucks. I had to laugh. I just about fell out of my lazy boy. Even Zuckerberg had to smile and chuckle and put his hand over his mouth. And I think the thing that people miss, and they need to be aware of this, Mark Zuckerberg right now is one of the top 6 wealthiest individuals in the entire world. Now, A lot of people, when they look at wealth, like they do with movie stars, they equate being smart or smarter or smartest to make all that money. Not true. Zuckerberg is extremely talented and sharp as a pin when it comes to technology. But never, ever associate smartest. There's a difference here between smarter and smartest. He never equates smartest with him because he probably could not do your job. He probably does not know your job. He probably doesn't know a lot of things except technology. And that's where you need to draw the line. Never let somebody lord over you saying, oh, they're smarter than I am, or they're the smartest human being on the face of the earth. Not true. Perhaps just in that particular subject. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This message I want to relay right now goes out to a lot of the seniors in the area because we're very concerned about you. Living at home alone, all the safety hazards and the injuries that are possible, poor nutrition, a Pop-Tart is not a 7-course meal, and missed medication, all of those things you got to be really wary of. And so therefore I urge you to get a hold of Pomerelle Place, a very, very nice place that offers the ability of seniors to maintain their independence both safely and comfortably. Please call Holly and the staff over there, very nice people, at 677-8212. That number again, 677-8212. Pomerelle Place, a place for senior living at 1301 Bennett Street in Burley. Caller, I will be there in just a moment. Stand by. I also want to remind everybody, the Salmon Select Horse Sale is this weekend. As a matter of fact, the festivities are going to get underway tomorrow. Holy cow, they got the big mule sale Calcutta tomorrow. All kinds of fun things. Then the big mule sale on Friday, and then Saturday, that great big horse sale, Idaho's premier horse sale. They're going to have over 130 horses to sell up at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon. It is a big one. It's a happening. Contact Fred Snook if you have any questions. 756-2125. 208-756-2125. Salmon Select Horse Sale this weekend. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
How art thou?
I art fine.
Okay. I art too.
Okay.
I'm illiterate when it comes to Facebook, and you know what? I'm glad.
Yeah.
And if I don't ever know any more about it, I will be happy. But this thing, I noticed at first when they started gossiping about people, and without any defense or anything.
Yeah.
I just don't see any value whatsoever in Facebook.
I don't.
What is your opinion?
I don't take the time, nor will I ever take the time, to sit and be tied to or be enamored by social media. I know a lot of people call me a kind of a hillbilly because I don't like that kind of stuff. I do have a smartphone, but for me it's a waste of money and actually kind of a waste of time to even have one. I don't like to do it. I like to visit with people in person. I don't even like emails. I'm serious about this. I don't even like emails. I would much rather call people. Pardon me?
I'm your man on that, because I don't like them either.
No, I just like the personal touch with people and look people in the eye and go that way. I just think we've got away from that to the degree where we've lost a personal touch, and I think it's affected our families, it's affected our schools, and it's affected our business.
You know, years ago, I thought having an answering machine would be wonderful. I had it for exactly 1 week, and then I shut it off.
No, I'm the opposite. I'm the opposite.
They called you, and they want to talk to you, and you're not there. not going to happen.
No, I'm the opposite on answering machines. As a matter of fact, I love answering machines, and I'll tell you why. And this might offend some people, but it's the facts. If you want to reach me in the evening, and that's my time. I don't get a lot of time to spend with my wife alone or do things or maybe watch a ball game or maybe read a book in the evenings. That's my time. And if somebody wants to get a hold of me, they're going to probably get the answering machine and leave a message, and I will call you back if I want to call you back. If it's somebody that I don't want to converse with, that answering machine just took care of that.
Yeah, well, the thing that I didn't like was, say, when you're talking about church, somebody calls you and says, this is so-and-so, and we're having a meeting on such and such a date and everything, and see you there.
Yeah.
That, to me, is not a message, because you may not look at that thing for 2 days, or you may be out of town.
No, I check mine religiously every day, twice a day or 3 times a day, both my cell phone and my home phone. But, I'll accept answering machines. I absolutely couldn't live without it because it's absolutely a necessity for my business. But as far as screening calls, yes, I do. Keith, I got to run and do a commercial. Keep the answering machine, throw everything else away.
Okay.
All right, buddy.
See you later.
All right, thank you. Hey, don't forget our friends at Dino's Septic Service. It's a subject a lot of people don't want to talk about. Ew, ick. They don't want to talk about septic tanks being pumped or backhoe services or sewer and sink drain lines cleaned. No, they don't want to do it. That's why they call Dino's Septic Service. Absolutely fast, fair, friendly service. And 2 numbers to call, 436-6526. Deanne, I can hear you in the other room. And Burley, 678-1638. Don't forget to give them a call. They do the job that we don't want to do. And they've got that great big truck called Smells Cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. You give them a jingle today. Really good people. Really good people. I think they're going to be on the air with us tomorrow, maybe. I'll have to check that out. Also, what else did I have to tell you about real quick? Stand by. Oh, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Yes, they are located at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And Nick Greenwell has put together a great team of physical therapists and serving you with the best of sports medicine, the best of the exercises to help you heal up after maybe an accident or a surgery and get you back to being you. Absolutely. Call them today, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd like to hear about what you think about social media, Facebook, Twitter, all this kind of thing. I mean, I don't want to be a part of it. I don't like it. I don't take the time for it. If I want to call you, I'll call you. If I want to send you a letter, I'll send you a letter or a card, whether it might be a thank you card, a condolence card. I'm going to send that to you, but I'm certainly not going to sit down. I don't like emails. I do use them on occasion, thanks to my lovely bride. But as far as the social media and everything and texting, I don't text and I don't care who knows it. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, a lot of people probably did not see this story, but it needs to be said and recognized, and I will. Every Thursday, we do a segment called Cassia County School Days. And there are those out in the audience that have this opinion that Idaho, its teaching and its education values are at the bottom of the barrel. And I have absolutely been adamant that that is not the truth, and I won't stand for that when somebody says that or insinuates it on this program. Well, I want to tell everybody that the National Assessment for Education Progress, and it's also known as the nation's report cards on the schools in the various states and how the various states are faring. Well, listen to this, and this was in the paper this morning. You can read it yourself. 8th graders in the gem state of Idaho performed near the top of the pack in reading. with more than 80% scoring basic or better. Only 2 places did better: Massachusetts and the U.S. Department of Defense schooling, while 18 states had similar scores to Idaho and 31 states had lower scores, according to the Department of Education. There you go. So stop this overall condemnation of education in our state of Idaho. There are some really good people involved, and there are some really good students coming out of the system. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. Please, it'll keep me awake this morning. Oh, by the way, I want to remind you, too, excuse me, about Airvana, or Airvana. Yes, the ultimate level of comfort you'll achieve with the presence of a new Lennox home comfort system. And Gina, what would you say, Airvana or Airvana? And she's not there. Evidently, I'll bet you dollars to donuts that Sean has taken over. Okay. Anyway, Airvana is defined as the ultimate level of comfort you'll achieve with the presence of a new Lennox home comfort system. When you buy a Lennox home comfort system at Ramsey Heating and Electric, you can get up to $1,700 in rebates. Airvana is just another way to make you feel better. So call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459 or visit ramseysonline.com. Caller, I barely heard the cow, but I know you're there. Good morning.
Good morning. It's like tomato or tomato.
Oh.
Both the same thing.
Tomato, tomato, potato, potato. Airvana.
You were talking about education there?
Yes, I was.
I seen a deal and read and heard a couple people talk about it, that the education, the money people are putting into education, the non-teacher personnel in education has risen 400%.
Wow. I mean, wow.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's with administrators and office people and everything else. So, I mean, the teachers themselves are the minimum in the education system.
Yeah, but wait a minute, though. Wait a minute. I know you got to clear your throat, but I just want you to respond to this. Yesterday, I had a lady on the air from Oklahoma, and we were talking about how the Oklahoma teachers have walked off the job and basically marooned on a desert island all their students. Now, they had been told they would get a $5,500 raise on their salaries, and that comes, pretty good to close to $500-600 a month when you blow it all out on the system. That's not too bad. Are you going to get a $500 a month raise at your job?
No, my boss isn't that nice.
I know he's not. Boy, he's a hard working. But anyway, my point is...
I haven't received a check yet.
I know what you mean on that. But my point is, and I've got a little feedback coming in my headsets over at the station. My point is this. I don't see why, if they signed a contract and they said they would work for X amount of dollars during this fiscal school year, and then all of a sudden the unions got involved and they said, oh, we're going to go on strike. And then to subvert the strike and stop it, they had come out and they said, okay, we'll give you a $5,500 raise. That's roughly what it came out to. And they still struck anyway. I think every one of them ought to be fired.
Well, very, very true. That these people with the union tells them what to do. And if they don't go along with it, I don't know what their repercussion is. I've never been in a union and never want to be, because I want to think for myself. I do not want somebody in a three-piece suit sitting in an office collecting money from me, telling me how to think and what to vote for.
Absolutely.
I mean, isn't that kind of like dictatorship when they tell you what you got to vote for?
Well, yeah, but sticking with the main crisis here with the teachers, look at what's happening to these students. They're at the end of their school year, many of which are graduating, many of them need to finish all the tests to go on to a college or a trade school or whatever. This is just in turmoil, and I feel no compassion, and I don't care if there's any teacher out there that wants to arbitrate with me. You can figure out the number, 436-2244. But why in the world, if you sign a contract, Doug, and you say you're going to do a job for a certain period of time, it's no different than me signing a contract with a rodeo or whatever. I have agreed to do the work for that compensation. And then after I've signed it, then you have a thought of, oh, well, no, I need more money, I'm not going to do the job. And then you go out and cause this kind of a problem through your union. Okay, to subvert and stop that, they being the state of Oklahoma, offered the teachers, I think, a very fair raise, and they still went on strike, which is a jeopardization of the education of our youngsters. I absolutely say fire them.
I do too. I mean, if you're not as good as your word, then you're not worth teaching the young children on how to behave and how to become adults.
Well, I don't see any sense to this. Why sign a contract? It's just like a baseball player or a football player. I get absolutely incensed against them if they have sat down with their agent and arbitrated a contract for X amount of dollars to play for this team for a period of time. That's it, man. It goes into the file folder, and that's the way it's going to be until the arbitration period is open again for a new contract. But you play for what you're going to get paid.
Exactly. That's exactly true, and that's where the unions come in and they can control everything.
Yeah.
I mean, the unions had their place when they first come up, back in the, when was it? They come up in the early 1900s, late 1800s,
mm-hmm.
when, people were just abusing and treating employees as slaves.
But what good, Doug, is a person's word transmitted to paper and ink if you're going to renege on the agreement?
It isn't. I remember growing up with my dad, and he always taught me a man's as good as his word.
That's right.
You give your word to somebody, you do it to the best of your ability, and if you can't do it, you go to him personally and you say, hey, I'm sorry, I bit off more than I can chew, and he says, you be a man about it. But
Yep.
He says, don't go back on your word. If you tell somebody you're going to do something, you do it.
I agree. Hey, right now I've given my word that I would get these commercials on, so I got to go do it.
Okay, everybody, let's do what we can for our senior centers.
All right, buddy.
They built this country. We're enjoying their hard work and their sweat, so let's take care of them.
Amen. Thank you, buddy. Call back if you will later. I appreciate it. I've got to take care of some good words here, and I want to remind you every Monday we give away a dozen cookies, and not one time have the winners ever shared the wealth of those delicious cookies with me. I feel bad. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Great restaurant. What a bakery. Oh, my goodness, it's good. Sophie's Chatterbox on Monday at 8:30. We give away those delicious cookies. 530 East Street, right on the square in Rupert. Also, Idaho needs Nonini. Bob Nonini for Lieutenant Governor. Vote May 15th for proven effective conservative leadership. Bob Nonini has 25 years' experience in local and state Republican politics. He believes in quality, affordable health care, parental choice in education, and wants to create a positive business climate with government involvement limited. Absolutely. Vote for Bob Nonini for Lieutenant Governor on May 15th, paid for by the committee to elect Bob Nonini, Lieutenant Governor, Treasurer R. Scott Hogue. Okay, your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Also want to remind you about a very dear friend of ours. And, man, I tell you, I'm very, very high on this gentleman. He's running unopposed this year, but by golly, on May 15th, vote for Senator Kelly Anthon, District 27. Proven leadership with strong conservative values. Senator Kelly Anthon wants to preserve our Western small-town way of life, serving you few in the Idaho Senate. Kelly believes in low taxes, the Second Amendment, and minimal government in our lives. And my phones are going off, and I wish they wouldn't. Thank you very much. Remember to re-elect Senator Kelly Anthon, District 27 on May 15th, paid for by the committee to elect Kelly Anthon, Idaho State Senate. There we go. My cell phone was going off. We just talked about technology, and that's one call I can't take while I'm on the air. Cell phone. Call welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This story is extremely serious, and all of us should be very concerned as to what's going to happen maybe later today, maybe in the next minute, or maybe tomorrow morning. We don't know. I'll talk about Syria in just a moment. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Hello, caller. Go ahead, please.
The Senior Junction is having ham and beans and cornbread in the trimmings today. It's a great day to have ham and beans, so come and join us at the Senior Junction on South Overland today. It's going to be great.
Joe, every day of the week is a great day for ham and beans and cornbread. You know that.
That's right.
All right. We'll send everybody over, Joe Taylor, at the Senior Junction. Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Thank you, sir. Good man right there. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. I want to remind everybody, too, about Berry Equipment and Rental. Oh, they've got 3 locations serving you. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin with old Eli, and then, of course, Nampa. Oh, my. Think about those Walker mowers. I mean, you can have fun in the sun mowing your lawn with a Walker mower. They've got them. They've got them. They've got all your equipment rentals and retail equipment sales. They got all the Bobcat excavators. You don't know how to run one, Bunky? Well, they got a big sandbox out behind the business. They'll teach you. Berry Equipment and Rental, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, Addison Avenue West in Twin, and Nampa. Berry Equipment and Rental. Caller, a good morning to you. How are you?
Good, Zeb. You know, what Mueller did yesterday by raiding Trump's attorney, you know, I say to myself, you know, this guy, you know, is so out of control, and he's so partisan that it's unbelievable. And I just, you know, trying to stop him will make Trump look bad. And Sessions is, I guess his hands are tied. I mean, this is so frustrating. It's just infuriating. And somehow somebody's, you know, they're just going to drag this thing out until the election. And then there'll be a shadow of doubt, so to speak. And, you know, if he had any information, we would have known it by now.
You know, it's been over a year, and I wouldn't even hazard a guess as to how much money has been spent on our money, your money out of your billfold and my money out of mine, and more money going to be spent. It's turned into a witch hunt. And yesterday I made the comment that back to 2006, I'm going to be very honest and blunt here. I knew that Trump was not a man of high moral values when he received the nomination to be president. I voted for him, not because of his lack of moral values or his moral values. I voted because I wanted to see somebody go in with a big broom and a dust mop and start to clean up this political mess that is really like a cancer in this country. I don't care about his past. And what they're looking into in 2006, that's 10 years before he threw his hat in the ring. I'm fed up with it, and I think they're all a bunch of Looney Tunes.
Well, I tell you what, you know, it's out of control, and I don't know if Sessions is, you know, if he's inadequate or his hands are tied. You know, Rosenstein is, I mean, I'm telling you, these people are criminals. And, you know, somehow getting this thing squared away is going to take some time, apparently. And so I just don't know what we're going to do. But, you know, yesterday I was just furious. And see, that's the thing. you say, what can we do to stop this witch hunt? And I wished I knew more.
Well, I think all of us, honestly, I know this can't happen. But, and over at the station, if you could turn him up just a touch in my headsets, it's not going to happen, but I'm almost to the point as a taxpayer of telling the IRS and telling this government, you know what? The way you're abusing our money and taking advantage of us as taxpayers, you can go straight to you-know-where as far as April 15th is concerned, because none of us want to pay our taxes until we get a complete revocation of some of your stupid, frivolous policies and you pay attention to business. I wish that could happen.
Well, it's such a frustrating thing over the weekend, talking about elite getting away with things, and Hillary and Miller abusing his job. I went and watched Chappaquiddick, and, Teddy, murdered that girl. There's no question about it.
That's right.
He never gotten out of the car himself.
That's right.
And so, you see, and he never did a thing, never had to pay for nothing. Somebody was dead. And you see, out here in the real world, you and I get a speeding ticket, and if we don't pay it, guess what they do?
Yeah.
They take our license.
Randy, later on this morning, I want you to be having a heads up on this along with the rest of my audience. I have the director of the docuseries called The Swamp, and I know you've heard of this. He's going to be on my program at 10:06 this morning, Matt Whitworth, and I want you to tune in and listen to this because this guy is really sharp in that docuseries. I got to run and do a series of spots right now. Appreciate your calls. Give me another jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Really, when you think about it, we sit here like little lost sheep, and we know April 15th rolls around. Oh, boy. Oh, we cringe in the corner, and we know we've got to pay the Internal Revenue Service our taxes. We've got to support our government. Wait a minute. When you go to buy a pair of Wranglers at a store, or ladies go buy a dress, if the dress is flawed or the Wranglers are flawed, you take them back and get another pair, or you get your money back. Right now, the American public is being just kind of issued down an alleyway like lambs going to go to get sheared and or slaughtered, and we don't do anything. We don't fight back. Wait a minute, you're not going to spend my money on some little hamster on a treadmill. No, you're not going to do it that way. You're going to shape up and fly right, or I'm not going to pay my money. I wish we had that power, but we don't. We're told we have no power. We're a nation of sheep. Oh, I feel better now. I feel cleansed. Want to remind you about a great big sale coming up, and it's going to be, what in the world did I do with that great big sale? I had it right here in my hand not more than 5 minutes ago. There it is. I found it. The lost is found. It's the Bennett Boys Auction Service going to have the Lowry Estate Auction, and this is going to be a great big sale, 10 o'clock Saturday, this coming Saturday, April 21st. Wait a minute. No, I'm wrong. That's going to be next week. We've got that sale coming up. Deanne, do you have the right sale for me today? I don't think I have the sale for this coming Saturday. But Bennett Boys Auction Service, I got myself in a puddle of mud right now. I guess that sale's not this week. It's next week, so I'll check. We'll cancel that one and wait till next week. Caller, you're on the air. Get me out of a pickle.
They hung up.
Well, who are you?
I'm Sean.
Well, how are you, Sean?
I'm not doing too bad. I'm a little stressed behind the board. It's been a while, so
well,
have a little patience.
I will. Turn yourself up a little bit, and you can boost a little bit to me because it's real faint. But
is that better?
Oh, yeah, it's coming through a lot better. Thank you.
Right on.
But it's good to have you. And by the way, do you pay me or do I pay you?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, just
have to discuss that with my manager, Gina.
Yeah, well, just send me the check. I'm going to. Okay, hold on, though, Sean. I'm going to do a weather forecast first. Okay. I got to get that in, and we want to tell everybody about our weather forecast being sponsored by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they are located right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. And the number to call 312-0957. You give them a call today and set up a hearing screening with Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Pickup. They are there to serve you all the time with the best of hearing health. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Today is going to be the calm before the storm, windstorm that is. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Partly sunny skies for today. We are expecting a high of 62. Winds out of the west-southwest right around 15 miles an hour. Gusts possible as high as 24 miles an hour. For tonight, in come the rain showers mostly after midnight with a low of 38. Winds are going to be picking up tonight because tomorrow we are going to be in a wind advisory. Winds could gust as high as 50 miles an hour. Steady out of the west, right around 20 miles an hour. 60% chance of rain showers. A little to no snow accumulation is expected, but we're only going to see a high of 45. For tomorrow night, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 30. Winds should be dying down just a little bit. For Friday, mostly sunny skies with a high of 50. And for Friday night, mostly clear with a low of 31. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Yeah, Sean, if you could, when you play that weather, boost it up. It's still pretty faint coming down the line to me, so if you would, I'd appreciate that. And the weather brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids over in Rupert. The number to call and make sure you get a hearing screening, 312-0957. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Well, good morning again.
Yes, sir.
The comparison that you made about Wranglers is one of the best comparisons I've heard of, because, you buy the Wrangler jeans like you and I like to wear and go to Walmart and try on a pair of those Wranglers. And believe me, you'll know the difference, correct?
I'm not going to get into anything about any retail outlets at all, Keith. I don't think that's a fair assumption. But what I'm saying, and the reason I made that correlation was you have control over your money and how it's spent. If the product is not what you paid for, you go and you get your money back. Well, right now the product of government is not what we're paying for, and we can't get our money back. As a matter of fact, our arms are twisted behind us to pay more.
That's true. And when going back to that contract with the Oklahoma teachers, what in the world can you do when they violate their contract? You can't go out and replace them like you can a farm worker or somebody like that. You have to have somebody that has the skill to take their place. And they know it, and they're just being plain ignorant.
Well, we the people, it's no longer our government anymore. It's no longer our country anymore, Keith. It's not we the people, it's the government over the people. And I don't like how our money's being spent. I don't want to give it to somebody to brush his teeth 7 times a day to see how much it takes off the enamel, and that's where some of the money's going. I don't want to pay for a hamster in a treadmill. So what power do you have as a citizen to say, okay, I'm going to pay my taxes, but you have to use this money diligently to run the government efficiently for us? We don't have that power anymore.
I think somebody's written a book or something, and maybe it was on your show that I heard this, but they talked about a freshman congressman going in and how he was treated like, you gotta get along.
Oh, yeah. I had it on my show a couple of days ago. And the director...
Yeah, and that's a good example.
Well, the director of that docuseries called The Swamp is going to be on my program at 10:06 this morning. Keith, I got to pay some bills. Okay. I will be back in just a little bit. Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have that one, Deanne, so if you could check that out for me, I'd appreciate it. Ramsey Heating and Electric, don't forget Airvana, is defined as the ultimate level of comfort you'll achieve with the presence of a new Lennox home comfort system. And when you buy a new Lennox system at Ramsey Heating and Electric, you can get up to $1,700 in rebates. Airvana is just another way to make you feel better, so call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459 or visit visit the website at ramseysonline.com. Okie dokie. Calls are welcome and appreciated. I just received word that Dave Bigo is not going to be on my program at 9:06 this morning. And that's more than frustrating because we have plans on all the segments to make sure they're all filled and everything. So that means at 9 o'clock this morning, I got to hustle up and get another guest for us at that time slot. Calls are welcome and very much appreciated right now at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. In Orange, California, I think I'll go to this story next. Orange, California, I know a lot of people down in that area. The town has voted that they are not going to go along with the sanctuary city policies. They are telling Governor Jerry Brown, old Moonbeam, hit the road, Jack. We don't want a sanctuary city policy, and we're not going to advocate it, and we're going to go along with the federal government in a possible lawsuit against you. Good thing. Good. And at the same time, we pick out stories that are in the news about the Virginia Senate. Now, listen carefully to this one. The Virginia Senate passed a bill aimed at preventing so-called sanctuary cities in the state of Virginia. So what did the Democratic governors promise to do yesterday? Governor Ralph Northam said he's going to veto it. One man, a Democrat, absolutely wants the heinous effect of sanctuary cities brought into his state. The Virginia Senate said, no, we're going to pass a bill aimed at preventing so-called sanctuary cities. And the governor said, I don't care. I don't care about you representing all the voices of the people. For the state of Virginia, I will veto the bill. And here's what he said, along with the other Democrats. They say the bill sends a message that Virginia is unwelcoming to immigrants. Let's define that just a little bit because it makes me cowboy mad right now. Unwelcoming to immigrants? That's not true. That's a lie, a falsehood. Number one, I know for a fact, after calling back there this morning, that there are many, many that would absolutely welcome legal immigrants. And they are unwelcoming to illegal immigrants as a sanctuary city and a safe haven for felons, thugs, and punks. We got to start calling it like it is. Illegal aliens, one thing. Legal immigrants, entirely another. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget our friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations telling you to roll into spring with the big spring tire sale. Absolutely. Listen to this. They've got all the tires for your car and your pickup and your SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers. Why, they've got them all. And I'll tell you what, you can save a lot of money and drive safely. Stop in and see any of the 7 locations today of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Also check out all the great brake service and the front end alignments and the shocks and struts and the batteries. They care. They really care, and they do a tremendous job of service too. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. They care. They are the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I got exactly a minute before I have to flee the scene. Go ahead quickly.
I think I can get it in a minute. Let's get down dirty and define legal and illegal. When are they going to start teaching that in the first grade on through?
Well, evidently the city of Twin Falls didn't learn it because they had a column in their story about anti-immigrant rhetoric. It's not anti-immigrant rhetoric. We're talking anti-illegal alien rhetoric, and they won't make that definition. I just absolutely am so incensed as to how people have twisted the English language, Chris, to suit their own means.
you go any place in the rest of the world and you try to sneak into their country without some kind of a paper, and you'll be in jail.
You got it.
Let's get this straight.
And we're going to talk more about this next half hour. Call back. I hate to be rude, but I got to run right now. Chris, call me back. Thank you. What I've got to do right now, and Sean's over there running the board for us this morning, we're going to listen to this good word for Tommy Ahlquist, and then he's going to have some music leading us up to CBS News. I'll be back in about 7 minutes. Not exactly the way it is. Not exactly. Idaho was way at the top of the pile in reading for the 8th graders. Let's make sure we get all the facts straight there. Morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch, and welcome back to hour number 2. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a big spring tire sale. And also some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, old Sean, he's perched like a vulture over the button, and we're ready to hear this good word for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh, yes, sir, Bob, Western Waste Services. And if you're not on their route service to have your garbage picked up weekly, why not? Give them a call. It makes it so easy to stand there on your porch and wave goodbye to your garbage. 734-6969. You give them a call today. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. They're waiting to serve you. Also want to remind you that on Thursdays tomorrow at 9:17, right down to the gnat's eyebrow, we're going to have our great guest with the Cassia Regional Hospital. You know, I just absolutely am so happy to have them on our program every week. And, of course, Cassia Regional Hospital located at 1501 Highland Avenue in Burley. And really, your friends, your neighbors, Cassia Regional Hospital, quality care close to home. Be listening to that segment tomorrow at 9:17. Really, really nice people. Want to remind you, too, when I talk about nice people, I kind of segue right into it with our dear friend Joel Heward and, of course, his family and his staff over at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Oh, my goodness, they are there to serve you, help you always with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please remember, when there's the passing of a loved one, just pick up the phone. Call them, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, and Joel Heward also serving you at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Really, really good folks. One more good word before we go to a good old friend of mine, and that's Jack Euler. I want to remind everybody about Airvana, defined as the ultimate level of comfort you'll achieve with the presence of a new Lennox home comfort system. When you buy a new Lennox system at Ramsey Heating and Electric, you can get up to $1,700 in rebates. Airvana is just another way to make you feel better, so call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. Or visit them online at ramseysonline.com. You know, when I get into a pinch, I always look to my friends to bail me out, and this man has bailed me out for a long, long time, going back years and years when we had our television show, Johnny Uritia and myself with Cowboy Country, and he was kind of the gopher, the man that put it all together, the producer. Jack Euler, how are you this morning?
Well, I'm doing pretty good.
Well, you're traveling all the time, and you're running all over the country, driving about 1 million miles a month. My goodness, it's good to have you on the program sitting still for a little bit.
Well, it's good to be off the road for a little while. I hope the all day goes the same way.
All right. Well, Well, Jack, I wanted to get you on the air, and we haven't heard a lot lately about the wolf problems. We haven't heard anything about the spotted owls. Now, all of a sudden, we're starting to get more inkling and more press coverage about the grizzly bears. What's going on with the grizzly bears?
Well, the thing that's brought this to light is the fact that the state of Idaho and Wyoming are proposing a hunt for grizzly bears this fall, and it's ruffling the feathers of you-know-who. And as a result of that, why, you get the same thing as you always get. There will be lawsuits and all those kind of things filed against the government. And I wouldn't doubt that lawsuits will be filed against the states because of, you got to protect an endangered species. But, I get tired of listening to the same words that these people have to say all the time. And these lawsuits that they file are very interesting. And as Range Magazine puts it, that's where the environmental groups get their money, because what they do is sue and settle.
Absolutely.
And they file a suit against the government or whoever they file it against, and somewhere down the line they negotiate a settlement, and they get an exorbitant amount of money, and the money is based on $750 an hour for their attorneys, and that's how they get their tax money.
Okay, now let me ask you this, Jack. Let's go back to the original cause of our discussion and the root of the problem about the grizzlies. Break this down for us a little bit. If they are so endangered, there would not have even been a smidgen of a hope of having a hunting season for them. And B, if they're not that few in numbers, why in the world should we be concerned? And why are we letting the environmentalists lead us by the nose like they did with the wolves and the spotted owls?
Well, that's because of what is going on in Washington, D.C., and that's where these people go to get their money. That's why all the lawsuits is filed against the government, because they still say they're an endangered species, but they're not. They've been taken off the list. And it's just like the wolves. There are more wolves today. When you say that the government says when each state has 100 wolves or 10 breeding pairs, and we got 1,200 now in the state of Idaho, and you say we're not taking care of them, or things aren't going right with them, it's baloney. And the wolves are the same way. The grizzly bears are the same way. Years ago, I had to go to Jackson Hole to talk to the Wyoming Fish and Game, and I got there early, and I listened to a presentation on grizzly bears. And the presentation was with a guy from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and after his 20-minute speech, he said, if you do this, this, and this, within 2 or 3 years, you can have them delisted. And a guy in the back of the room raised his hand. He said, can I come up to the front and talk? And he came up, introduced himself. He was 84 years old and had been on that Commission years and years before that, and he says, I listened to that same talk 10 years ago, and you guys told us the same thing. If you do this, this, and this, then you can get them delisted.
Yeah.
And he says, we did that back then, and they've done it now. Why aren't they delisted? And now it was 20 years later, and before they got delisted.
Jack, let me ask you this.
Everything is baloney.
Jack, let me ask you this on the numbers, and nobody is more qualified to provide information on these topics than you. But when you talk about grizzly bear numbers and the infiltration of more grizzly bears coming into this area, now I'm going to make an assumption and tell me how wrong I am, but because of their so-called endangered status over the years, I have heard the numbers have heavily been inflated as to where they are, and a lot of them coming out of Montana, the Bob Marshall Wilderness, and coming down in towards the Jackson Hole country and over into eastern Idaho. Really, what are the numbers, and why are they still even considered to be an endangered species?
Well, I don't know exactly on grizzly bears what the numbers are, because I haven't heard lately on them, but they're not an endangered species, because bears will protect their own areas where they live. The male grizzly, he takes care of a lot of that problem, and bears will kill bears, and the males do that, but it is baloney what they say and what they do. I have a cabin in Island Park, which is in eastern Idaho, and it's in the forest. And, I mean, it's on private property. It's my property, but there's forest land all around. And today, I got grizzly bears running around our property, and there's, within 6 miles of my cabin, there are 4 wolf packs. I can't even let grandkids now go out in the forest and run and play and have fun because of the threat of what's going to happen to them with wolves and grizzly bears.
Well, let's go to another aspect of this story, and we have seen a lot of threats by the environmentalists, not only with the wolves and the spotted owl and the salmon issues and the water issues, now the grizzly bears coming back into prominence again. What next? I mean, it seems like there is an unending wheel that rotates, and the environmentalists always find something else to stick in the fray and have more money directed to them. What's next on the agenda?
Well, years ago, there was a thing called the Wide Corridor. You remember hearing about it?
I certainly do. I've had a lot of stories on my program.
Okay, the Wide Corridor, I fought that years ago, and we got it turned back. And you didn't hear anything about it any longer. Well, the Wide Corridor is back, and the Wide Corridor is what is called from the Yellowstone to the Yukon.
Right.
They want an area protected from Yellowstone Park to the Yukon for these supposed endangered species or animals to have to just wander around and do whatever they want. And then there's another part of it. When they get that one, they're going to propose one from Yellowstone Park to it's someplace in South America.
Oh my!
That has a Y name, and they want to put the same in there.
You know, Jack, and the whole thing boils down to, I think you would agree, that all of these environmental ideas are very, very dangerous for humans and their private property, if there is ever going to be such a thing as private property in the future. All of this means that animals and wildlife are taking a precedence over communities, human consumption of food products, water, etc. We're the ones that are the endangered species. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree totally. And there's something that happened to me a few weeks ago in Salt Lake. I had a meeting. I was invited to Salt Lake to meet with the Secretary of the Interior, Ryan Zinke, and I had about 17 to 20 minutes. It was him and I and two of his staff, and we talked about these issues, and we talked about public lands, and we talked about what is going on in the country today. And Ryan's from Montana, and I gave him a pamphlet of what is going on and what they're trying to do, and he totally is in favor of protecting the people's rights and not all these endangered species, whether it's a bug, whether it's an animal, whether it's a piece of grass, or whatever it might be.
You know, and Jack, the scary thing is, though, and you've talked on this program many, many times about the environmental movement, the arrogancy and the attitude of get out of the way, we're coming through no matter what you do, and they seem like they have the deepest pockets with all the money to hire the lawyers and to sway government opinion. Can we beat these people into submission and tell them to get out of our lives, or are we looking at a lost cause?
Well, Ryan Zinke and I talked about this, and the coin kind of flipped when Trump got elected, and the total thinking of U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and those groups in Washington, D.C. has changed, and Ryan is trying to do the right things. Are we going to be successful in turning all these things around? No, you're never. You don't get everything turned around you want, but things are going to change, and Ryan is on the right track, and he's the right person for that job at this time. And, I heard a thing on the radio this morning about wild horses in Oregon.
Yeah.
Well, there's a wild horse problem in Nevada, too. In 11 western states, there's a problem. There was never supposed to be more than 25,000 wild horses, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, or whoever it was supposed to see that it never went over that number. There's over 75,000 wild horses out there now on the range.
Well, and
up in Oregon, they're going to take cattle off of this one range and give it so that the horses have got enough to eat.
Yeah. We're crucifying and taking away from our society the ranchers and farming families that need to make a living and help the communities with their money, their taxes, etc. And we are being led by the nose, like I said a little bit ago, with a very sinister movement in this country to do away with you, me, and everyone that's involved in agriculture. You know, Jack, when you talk about these wild horses, the problems with the numbers numbers. They are literally, and I have some of the facts and figures right in front of me, as a matter of fact, they are almost 2/3 over the numbers of allotments that they were told they could keep on federal lands. They are tearing the land up. They're destroying the land. And the environmentalists step in and say, well, you can't do a thing about it, or we'll stop you, we'll sue you. This is absolutely asinine.
Totally. I was told by a fish and game guy that they still have a cooler building up south of Nampa for putting wild horses in after they're taken off the land and killed. And this cooler building has been there for years, but it's never been used for the last 15 years or so.
Are you referring to the Idaho Fish and Game or the BLM control of the wild mustangs? I think we need to differentiate there.
Well, the Fish and Game has this building.
I see.
And when they would get it full of wild horses, then they would ship them out. But the Fish and Game has no control over wild horses.
Right, right.
It's supposed to be the BLM.
When you look ahead, and with your knowledge on all these subjects, quickly give me a short answer on this. I'm almost out of time. When you look ahead, let's go back to the grizzly problem for a little bit. How bad is this problem going to get here in the state of Idaho before enough people are going to jump up and say, that's it? The government works for us. We are not going to lose our private property rights. We are not going to endanger our families. When are people going to stand up and yell, enough?
I don't know. We are getting... Let me give you an example. We're getting in Blaine County cougars coming into a lot of places because of the places that houses have been built up there in Blaine County. And California's the same way. You got coyotes and you got cougars in towns now. And have we jumped up and said enough is enough? No. But when are we going to do it? I don't know.
Jack, I really appreciate you, and this was at the spur of the moment this morning, literally, for jumping on the air and helping me out this morning. God bless you, my dear friend. Thank you so much, and don't make yourself a stranger, and hopefully you'll be at the next lunch bunch. I'd love to see you.
What day is it?
We're going to have lunch bunch on April 26th, and I will alert Denny's so they can get a whole bunch more food to fill your plate.
Sounds great.
Okay, buddy. Thank you so much.
Appreciate the opportunity and glad to chat with you.
All right, Jack. Jack Euler, a very notable source of information in regards to what really is happening out in the wilds. Don't forget Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. Hey, they are good, serving you, your animals, and keeping them healthy. Dr. Bill and the rest of the staff want to remind you to be sure and spay and neuter your cats and dogs. Please, we don't want to have an excess amount all over the streets and a danger to everybody and a danger to themselves. And also, remember to have proper identification for your pets. Get a hold of them today. Call the number 678-1177. Ark Animal Hospital in Heyburn. They do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Sean over at the studio, and you're doing a great job. I appreciate it. Right now, could we please have this good word for Bob Nonini?
Bob Nonini, candidate for lieutenant governor, a principled conservative, successful small business owner, legislator, and leader in Idaho. Bob Nonini has earned a 100% rating from the American Conservative Union and received an A+ rating from the National Rifle Association. Bob Nonini, Idaho roots, conservative values, proven results.
Hi, I'm Bob Nonini, and I'm passionate about becoming your next lieutenant governor. Being an Idaho native, I grew up understanding the values of hard work and dedication. I believe education is the key to growing Idaho's economy and being prepared to tackle the challenges of the future. Parents having the right to choose how they want to educate their children is crucial. Idaho needs strong leaders who allow their faith, experience, and integrity to do what is necessary in creating a better life for our residents. Experience matters. Experience counts. The choice is clear. Idaho needs Nonini on May 15th.
Paid for by the committee to elect Bob Nonini for Lieutenant Governor. R. Scott Hogue, Treasurer.
And thank you very much. Hey, don't forget, yesterday, Tuesday, we had another edition of Vicky's Country Garden and the programming named after me, Gardening for Idiots. I'm learning a lot, though, and I'll tell you what, Miss Vicky over there at Vicky's Country Garden, a great teacher. 185 South 600 west of Paul, and believe me, they're celebrating 21 years in business. Wow. Don't forget, every Tuesday from 9:30 to 9:45, Vicky's Country Garden on the air, and we'll answer your gardening questions. Thank you very much. Also, we're very, very fortunate to have Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More on our program, Jeff Bronson and the crew. You know, with the spring spruce up and you want to say, we're out with the old and in with the new. Maybe you need some new carpeting or luxury vinyl planks or maybe a new sofa. All of this and so much more over at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, 459 Overland and Burley. Just stop in and go in the door and browse. Look around. You're going to be excited. Spruce up for springtime at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, 459 Overland in Burley. Don't you miss it. Going to be good people over there to visit with you, too. And one more good word about our friends also at Let's Ride. You want to have some fun? You deserve to have some fun. You need to get outside and just go. Absolutely, on a four-wheeler or a side-by-side from Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. They've got all the four-wheelers and the side-by-sides and a great accessory department. And they've got a super service department to keep you running, too. Absolutely, Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold. Really good people. Talking about really good people right now, we're going to have a lady on the phone with us that is in charge of the legal communications for the Americans United for Life, the director, Deanna Wallace. Good morning, Deanna. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it is my pleasure to have you on the air this morning, and I know we're going to be talking about a subject that you are very well versed in, and that would be H638. I'm just going to leave it there, and I'm going to let you give us a thumbnail sketch as to what it is and what it means.
Sure. So what this bill does is very simple. It requires that abortion facilities and doctors outside of abortion facilities report to the state when there are complications from a surgical abortion or a chemical abortion. And basically all this does is make sure that the public, the medical profession, and especially women who are considering abortion know exactly what the risks are associated with the procedure.
Now, let me ask you this, and I'm going to be really kind of plain and simple on this issue because I want to make sure all the facts are out. I would imagine that Planned Parenthood and other organizations of their ilk have been really upset about this possibly going through.
Yes, absolutely.
And make that explanation as to why.
Because it definitely impacts their bottom line if there is a reporting requirement that would inform everyone of how many complications actually occur, how many situations women find themselves in where they have to go to the emergency room, where they're suffering years later from complications still. It really undercuts the lie that we are told that abortion is completely safe and it's just like getting a tooth pulled.
Absolutely. And for we, the taxpayers, our money is used to reimburse and help promote Planned Parenthood. We should absolutely have this information, correct?
Absolutely, especially in states that give money to these abortion facilities. It's really important that the state can be able to track whether or not they're hurting women. If they have nothing to hide, then they should not be afraid for these bills to pass.
Now, what about other states in regards to this issue, Deanna? Where are we, the state of Idaho that I reside in, where are we compared to, let's say, Wisconsin, Florida, Texas, etc.? What are other states doing?
So the problem with the state reporting is that it varies wildly from state to state. That's why we push the model legislation, because we need to have a very comprehensive system that applies to all states. There are states that don't even report anything. They don't even track the number of abortions, like California and New York, and they make up a lot of the abortions in the entire country. So we don't even know what's happening in those states. Other states, such as Indiana now and Idaho, Texas, they have lots of reporting. And so we're able to kind of get a snapshot of what happens through those states. But we really need it across the board so that we can truly see what's going on.
Well, see, that's what I was going to ask you is if Planned Parenthood is going to have and perform the abortions and our money is going into Planned Parenthood, why can't we demand through every senator and every congressman, wait a minute, they're going to have to follow specific rules before they get one more doggone dime? Why can't we demand that?
I think we can, and I think we should. Unfortunately, it's a lot harder to get a reporting requirement passed on the national level, but states are very amenable to the idea that this is something that we should know. And again, if they have nothing to hide, then this should be no problem whatsoever for them. If they're not going to be reporting anything because they're so safe and they're so careful, then why wouldn't they want that on the record?
Yeah. You know, and Deanna, one of the feelings I have, and I've talked with others about this same issue, is that I feel, and tell me if I'm wrong, that we are progressing off a very precarious, slippery slope of a hemlock society to where we have no value for the unborn, and then in turn, we also don't have very much of a value for the elderly. I'm very concerned about where this society's going.
Absolutely. I think that there are two sides of the same coin. If you do not believe that every human life has inherent value, regardless of the utility or the ability of that human being to contribute to society, then of course you're going to be for abortion and for euthanasia and assisted suicide. If, on the other hand, like me, you believe that every human being does have inherent value and is worthy of being protected in the law, then you must fight to protect every human being from the moment of conception to natural death.
What about the millennial generation? I want you to talk a little bit about that. What are your concerns about them, or are they starting to see the light and the value of life?
As a millennial, I think that, it's really great that we are known as the pro-life generation, and I think that there's a very simple explanation for that, and it's science. We grew up seeing ourselves, our little brothers and sisters, our nieces and nephews, and ultrasounds. We have all the apps that tell us exactly where those babies are in their development, the size of them, whether they're the size of a potato or a watermelon, all of these really valuable insights that generations before us didn't have because of technology and science. And so it's really, I think, impossible almost to convince a millennial that has access to all of these things that's not a human being, that it's not alive.
You know, Deanna, let me ask you this question, and I don't mean to sound naive when I ask this, but what kind of a hold, or where did they get the power, Planned Parenthood, to demand that we, the taxpayers, fund them so they can be a, pardon the language, but a killing machine and provide abortions? Where did they get this power, and why can't we take it away?
They get their power because they have tons of money in which to market themselves as the defender of women, to donate to, all these Democratic legislators that in turn protect them and make sure that their funding continues. They spent millions and millions of dollars on the last election cycle. And so it's kind of a cyclical thing. If they continue to have extra money to spend on campaigns and on marketing, then it's going to be very hard to counter their their marketing, really, and their cool factor among the youth, where they, get to hang out with celebrities and things like that. It's really about the money. If they were required to fund themselves, I think that you would see a much different organization, because right now they have money to burn.
And their advertising program, it comes on so soft and so comfy and so well-meaning, but really, does the general public understand really what they need to know about Planned Parenthood?
No, absolutely not. The Planned Parenthood annual reports change the listings and really try to hide what's actually happening. They give equal weight to every single, person that comes into the clinic, regardless of what they're there for, instead of, showing how many of their actual patients got abortions. They say how many of their services were abortions. So even though someone came in and got a variety of different services, they're counted the same as the person who came in just for an abortion.
Okay, now, what about your organization? Tell us a little bit more about Americans United for Life. And what are you doing, and what do you do on a daily basis?
Americans United for Life was founded just before Roe v. Wade. We're a group of attorneys who really believe that the law is where we must be fighting in order to protect life. And we call ourselves the legal architects for the pro-life movement. We provide model legislation and analysis of other legislation to lawmakers across the nation and internationally. And we also work in the courts representing and helping to defend the laws that get passed, whether there are model laws or other important legislation that gets passed that is then challenged in the courts. So we work from the beginning of the legislative process all the way through to the end to make sure that everyone is protected in law and welcomed in life.
Absolutely. Well, I wanted to tell you, Deanna, anytime you want to come back on this program, you are always welcome. I wish you well. And Americans United for Life Director of Legal Communications, Deanna Wallace, thank you for being on the program this morning. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Very nice lady right there, and trying to bring out the real honest facts about abortion, and she did a really good job. Thank you very much. Calls are welcome in just a moment. I got to talk to Sean for a minute. Sean, turn your mic on just for a second, would you? Is the phone line that I'm on, sometimes they get a little staticky in the morning, and we have to change lines. Is everything coming through nice and clear over there?
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Good. I've got a little static here, and I just wanted to verify with you. You the man over there, buddy. You the man. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. I want to remind everybody it's time for the weather, and the weather is brought to you as soon as I can turn the page by our dear friends at Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Wow, these guys and gals are busy right now. I mean busy, burning the midnight oil because it's tax time. They've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. With the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, bookkeeping services, retirement planning, and so much more. Why don't you please get a hold of them and talk to them and see how they can help you, your family, and your business. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Today is going to be the calm before the storm, windstorm that is. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Partly sunny skies for today. We are expecting a high of 62. Winds out of the west-southwest right around 15 miles an hour. Gusts possible as high as 24 miles an hour. For tonight, in come the rain showers mostly after midnight with a low of 38. Winds are going to be picking up tonight because tomorrow we are going to be in a wind advisory. Winds could gust as high as 50 miles an hour. Steady out of the west, right around 20 miles an hour. 60% chance of rain showers. Little to no snow accumulation is expected, but we're only going to see a high of 45. For tomorrow night, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 30. Winds should be dying down just a little bit. For Friday, mostly sunny skies with a high of 50. And for Friday night, mostly clear with a low of 31. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
And thank you, Gina. Appreciate that. Our weather, whoo, did she say high of only about 45 tomorrow and possible snow? What is this? It's Idaho. Anyway, don't forget Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Really good people serving you. And serving is the key word with your accounting services and helping you with people that want to start a business or maybe a corporation. Maybe they want to hire more employees. They can help. They will help. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company with offices in Burley and Rupert. All right, we've got time for some calls. Give me a jingle on the landline right now at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm just going to be very blatantly honest about this next story. I find it to be one of the most offensively stupid stories that I have ever heard. I called a good friend of mine back in that area this morning, and he talked to me about it. Pennsylvania School District is arming its teachers with mini baseball bats. Think about it. A Pennsylvania school district said it will arm 500 school teachers with baseball bats in response to the Parkland, Florida school shooting. Now, I have over on my shelf a mini baseball bat. And I looked at that bat this morning after I received this story, and I had the information on it. 16-inch mini baseball bats were handed out to the teachers, and the district in Pennsylvania paid over $1,800 for these baseball bats. And the district superintendent told everybody that the bats were primarily symbolic, but a last resort and an option to something we want people to be aware of. What a bunch of idiots. I mean, handing somebody a little 18-inch mini baseball bat, and saying, well, here's your security for you and your students in the classroom against somebody that has a gun? We should be outraged as to the stupidity and the absolute bottom-of-the-barrel mentality of some people that are involved in protecting our kids. Handing teachers a little mini baseball bat and basically saying, well, this is symbolic, but it might help in case of an emergency. For what? Are you going to walk up and say to the shooter, bop, and play like the Three Stooges? Good heavens. How dumb can our society be? And that's almost as bad, or is as bad, as another Pennsylvania school district that wanted to arm their teachers with a bucket of rocks. Oh, you can't make this stuff up. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Hey, this is Clarence.
Yes, sir.
Probably got it figured out what they was going to do with the baseball bats. They're going to see if they can hit them bullets and knock them back towards the shooter. You suppose?
You know, Clarence, I'm telling you, I am so upset as to the stupidity and the low-class thought that goes into protecting our school kids, our teachers, and our school buildings. But to hand a bunch of teachers a 16 or 18-inch little mini baseball bat, isn't that the dumbest doggone thing you ever heard of?
It is. It is. I mean, I can't imagine a teacher even accepting the 16-inch baseball bat. I know I sure wouldn't.
You know, let me ask you something, Clarence. Let me ask you this. If I don't know if you still have children in school or not, but I'll tell you what, with the absolute mindless, let's say, assault on our school kids, I think absolutely we should treat our schools the same as we would treat the courthouse, or the same that we would treat an airport, or anything else where security is of absolute utmost prominence. parents. Why can't our kids get the same thing? And I say, if the teacher wants to carry a gun in that school and they are qualified to carry a gun, take the shooter out. You're not going to hurt anybody or stop anybody with a mini 18-inch baseball bat.
Well, I'll have to agree with you 100% that. If I don't have no kids in school, I'm 74 years of age. I tell people I got about 110 kids, actually. I'm a school bus driver.
Well, there you go. There you go.
And I'll tell you, that is completely stupid. I mean, handing them a baseball bat of all things.
Well, yeah, and one that's only 16 inches long. I have a couple of them here in my office, as a matter of fact, as kind of souvenir trinkets of my favorite baseball team, the Chicago Cubs. And I'm looking at it right now over on the shelf, and I fail to realize how that would be any kind of a protection device at all.
No, it wouldn't be. It wouldn't even be considered as any kind of protection. No, I don't know. Some people they I can't figure out what they're thinking. I mean, it's just they've got kids out there they've got to protect.
Absolutely.
Protect them with a piece of wood.
Absolutely.
Or a piece of plastic.
Absolutely.
It's, they're going to have to get serious about it. And like you say, I'm 100% for arming a teacher. Like I said, I'm a school bus driver. And if it come down to it, and if they ask me if I would pack, I would definitely say yes. There would be no problem.
You are protecting all the parents' children that ride on your bus. You are the main focal point for their safety to get to school in the morning and return home at night. You are the security blanket for whether it's 30 or 35 kids on that bus. You are the main man. And for anybody to inhibit or prohibit your right to protect those kids and yourself, I think, is absolutely asinine.
It is. It is. And, we've had some drivers that has had some problems with an irate parent or something starting to get on the bus, and we just will not allow them.
Yeah.
Because you got an irate parent, you don't know what they got in mind.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, maybe something went on the bus with their child. We're there to take care of it.
Yep.
All we need to do is be told, what's going on if we've missed it, and we will take care of it. They don't need to come on there and threaten other kids and threaten us and whatever. It's just they don't need that.
Yep, I totally agree.
I think I can speak for all the bus drivers out there that they feel that, when I pull up to that school and them kids start loading on my bus, they are my responsibility.
That's right. That's right.
The teachers that are out in the yard or out getting the kids loaded and so forth, after them kids are on that bus, them teachers haven't even got to say so after we got them on the bus, unless we ask for their help from an unruly student or something.
Yeah. You are.
Yeah, it's that way. We're that way until we get home and we drop them off at their bus stop. And a lot of times we drop them off right at their house. And a lot of these bus drivers that have these little guys, they make sure those little guys are right to the doorstep and going in the door before they pull away.
Amen. Amen.
This is the way it should be.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your calling this morning, and I salute you and all school bus drivers. I know you've got a doggone tough job, and I salute you. Thank you for calling, Clarence. I appreciate it. God bless you, man.
Yep.
Thank you.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Yep.
I will, sir. Thank you very much. I'll tell you what, school bus drivers, I really take my hat off to them. And what he said about the little ones, I really know that's true, because the school bus that stops right across the road from my place and lets off the little 6-year-old boy, he waits right there until that little boy is up and the door opens and mommy puts her arms around him, and I really respect that. Caller, I'll be right with you. I've got to quickly get this good word in, and it's for Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more. They are going to serve you, your family, and your business. Give them a call, make an appointment, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Caller, I've got exactly 1 minute. Go ahead quickly, please.
Yeah, Zeb, you're about your last caller. Great guy, real great guy. I admire him a lot and all he put up with, considering I rode a school bus for a little while. But, you know, it's pretty sad that people like that, when they take the initiative on their own to protect themselves, they could get fired if he was to pack a firearm with him and didn't tell anybody, and say somebody jumped up and caused a problem and he put an end to it. That school bus driver could end up in jail.
Well, yeah.
Consequences because he was standing up for the kids. I think the laws need to be changed around so that can't happen.
Well, I tell you what, the man made the reference that, with the higher authority passing edicts and everything, you got to go through the proper channels. But I will say this, I think the school bus drivers are the most underrated people in our education society because they are the link of getting them there to the school safely and bringing them home safely. Riley, God bless you, man. I got to run. I'm late. Thank you. Appreciate it. Right now, I'm going to ask old Sean over there running the board to please play this word for Tommy Ahlquist and then take us up to CBS News. Okay, well, here we go. Hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch, and good morning to you. And, of course, we're very thankful for our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with a great big spring tire sale going on right now. And also some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Hey, our friends with Rogge Auctions. Oh, they're going to have a ripping good sale. It's going to be coming up on April 14th, starting at 10 a.m., and it's going to be 315 South, 750 East of Burley. It's the Darrington auction. They're going to have farm equipment, vehicles, trucks, dairy items. They're going to have all kinds of things for you over there. Please contact RoggeAuctions.com. Ron Rogge, Cade Rogge, Jed South, all of those great folks working for you on this big Darrington auction coming up on April 14th. That's just 2 days from now. RoggeAuctions.com. Thank you very much. While I have a quick minute, I also want to remind you that on May 15th, re-elect Tim Darrington as Cassia County Commissioner. Tim knows that Cassia County has a lot to offer with its heritage and history, and he wants to help move the county forward. Tim Darrington has been very involved in updating county policy and also in updating Cassia's software. So re-elect Tim Darrington as Cassia County Commissioner on May 15th. Paid for by Darrington for Commissioner, Gail Erickson, Treasurer. Right now, we're not going to waste any time. I could not hardly wait to get this man on the air and talk to him about a docu-series called The Swamp. I saw a little bit of this, and it absolutely was intriguing. It absolutely was just absolutely reaching out and grabbing me by the tie and telling me not to turn it off. I'd like to say good morning to the director of this, Matt Whitworth. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Zeb. Thanks so much for that ringing endorsement. I appreciate it.
No, it wasn't an endorsement. It was absolutely the truth. I mean, I started watching that and the excerpts, and I thought, it's about time somebody had the backbone and the spine to do what you did and show Washington what it is. It's a sleazy cesspool of money.
Yeah, absolutely. And we found 4 congressmen who granted us total access to show exactly how the sausage is made in D.C. First day that we were filming with Ken Buck, we sat down and I said, Ken, just tell me about the legislative process in D.C. And he said, the legislative process in D.C. is leadership writes the bill, they leak it to lobbyists on K Street, the lobbyists leak it to Politico, and then we read about it in Politico.
Wow. You know, Matt, let me ask you this. When you came up with this idea to do this, and I'm assuming it was your idea, I mean, how did you know that there would be anybody, as far as a senator or a congressman, that would have the backbone or literally the guts to speak out on camera?
I really didn't. I was combing through dozens of YouTube interviews of different members on actually both sides of the aisle, trying to find people who I thought would be incredibly candid and forthcoming and who would be willing to take the risk of allowing a camera crew to follow them everywhere they went around D.C. and to document really how the sausage is made. I went into one of the congressman's office to pitch him on the series, and he had been briefed by his communications director, and as soon as I sat down, he looks at me and he goes, "I'm so glad you're doing this. This city is so screwed up."
Yeah, it's easy for them to say, "I'm so glad you're doing this. This city is so screwed up." But these guys, now tell me if I'm wrong, because I want to make sure we get all the facts right. The people that you interviewed, they were mostly what? Freshmen, congressmen, and senators that really had not dipped their foot in the pool of the cesspool of Washington, and they really weren't aware as to how much had gone on back there?
Yeah, so all of them are in their first and second term. So what sort of started out as a documentary series purely about the backroom dealings and how the sausage is made also turned into this sort of character drama, this tale, Mr. Smith goes to Washington, and hearing from these guys, what their expectations were going into Congress versus very quickly running into this wall of basically being quarantined and put in a box by leadership.
Now, when you say put in a box, now let's define that a little bit. Were there trepidations and fears from the people that you interviewed that, maybe my career is going to get cut short, maybe I'm not going to have any more power than the janitor down the hall? Did they voice any of those concerns and trepidations?
They did, yeah. I mean, and it took several weeks to sort of build trust with these guys for this project to move forward. I was sitting with Rod Blum, a congressman from Iowa, and he goes, if I say something stupid and it ends up in the series, he goes, that's on me. That's not on you guys. He said, but I'm so frustrated with this system. He said, if this will play any part in shining a light on it, I'm willing to take that chance. And Ken Buck sort of echoed that sentiment as well, and he goes, I am here to serve the 750,000 people in my district. And he said, I didn't come to Washington with any friends. I'm not going to leave Washington with any friends. He said, I'm here to get this job done. And, after I serve a few terms, I'm going to go back, to the district and do other things.
Okay, well, what's the bottom line here, Matt? Let's cut to the chase. What do you want to achieve by having this docuseries out in front of the public?
I really want to show that when we talk about leadership, it is a leadership of four. It's Chuck Schumer, it's Nancy Pelosi, it's Paul Ryan, and then it's the turtle, Mitch McConnell, who are basically in cahoots with each other, where they both turn a blind eye when the other party supports their special interest. So a lot of this partisan drama that you see play out in the news, it's basically a show for the cameras. I mean, there's much more cooperation between the leadership of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party when it comes time to working bills and getting bills through Congress. And no matter who's in power, both sides allow the other side to protect their special interests.
Okay, but wait a minute, Matt. I mean, when you were filming this and talking about the waste of money and the power trip these people are on, I guess I need you to define how. How could McConnell or Schumer or anyone, how can they have that much power that they can literally mold and shape where our money's going to be spent and how it's going to be wasted?
Well, so I came into this project with sort of this utopian view of, Schoolhouse Rock, how a bill becomes a law. That is not the process. Everything comes from leadership, and they do it in a way where they write the bills in secret, and they don't even allow things that they don't like or that they don't want to garner attention to even come out of committee. So there's been a lot of good bills, bipartisan bills, to sort of help reform the system. And the leadership of both parties just will refuse to allow those bills to be debated or come up on the floor for a vote.
So basically, the people that you interviewed, and by the way, over at the station, Sean, if you could turn him up a little bit in my headsets, I'd appreciate it. So basically, the people that are the freshmen, they're sitting there on their hands, and they have no power, they have no say-so, and they're just watching the swamp get bigger and deeper, right?
Yeah, it's even worse than that. It's leadership writing the bill, and then going to them and saying, hey, we're going to vote on this in 12 hours. You need to be a team player and vote yes. And if you don't vote yes, there's going to be repercussions. So there have been members who have had committee chairmanship stripped from them, who have lost committee seats. There's members who have had official foreign trips canceled the night before they were due to fly out of the country by leadership for not voting the right way.
What are you going to do with this docuseries called The Swamp? I mean, if I were you, and I'm kind of a vindictive old cowboy, but if I were you as a taxpayer, I would make arrangements to have this to go to every state in the union and go to movie houses, and anybody running for re-election or election, I'd make sure that that was played on their local TV. Man, I tell you what, you can use this thing.
Oh, well, I'll tell you this. Rod Blum, congressman from Iowa, introduced 3 what he called Drain the Swamp bills. And one of them was really simple, no first-class air travel for members of Congress. The other 2 were a lifetime lobbying ban, and the third was term limits. And he was submitting these bills frustrated as all get out because he knew that they weren't going to go anywhere. So, yeah, it really comes down to the voters going to these town halls, engaging with your reps, and basically, asking and demanding, when are you going to put up a clean bill for term limits? When are we going to see that move out of Congress?
What about the term limits? I mean, I have kind of shifted my attitude over the many years. I was adamantly against term limits, and I said for years the ballot box is the best term limits available, but now I'm not so sure. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we were able to capture in this series is everyone comes in, both sides of the aisle. They love to debate the issues when they first get to Washington. They're very idealistic. But just the system here, the incentive structure, the proximity to power, it ends up captivating them. So they end up, not wanting to move the needle, not willing to take any big risk, because it all becomes about the next election.
Wow.
So if there were a way for us to remove that incentive and say, listen, it doesn't matter, if you protect your special interests or not, because you're going to be out of here in 6 years or 8 years or 10 years, I think you would see a lot more bold pieces of legislation come out of the House.
Matt, while you were filming this, what was the biggest item that you learned or the biggest thing that you became afraid of?
Just the indoctrination that these guys go through the very day that they arrive in Washington. They're sworn in, they're given their congressional pen, and that pen opens a lot of doors. They get the best seats in restaurants. They throw a party for the freshmen at the National Archives, and they, show them all these documents that the American public don't get to see. So that lifestyle just becomes so captivating, and it's done on purpose, and it's perpetuated by the leadership of both parties to make sure that these, troublemaking, idealistic freshmen fall into line pretty quickly.
What about the old has-beens that are there all the time, every year, re-election? What about the McConnells? What about those people? Is this something that you can possibly get into their television sets or their VCRs and make them aware that we're on to them and things better change?
Hey, I certainly hope so. I mean, we went out, we tried to sell this series to Netflix and Hulu and Amazon and others. I think we sort of ran in to that insurmountable political bias. But this is not a partisan show. This is simply a show about good government and some of the things that need to take place. So if we can play even a small role in shining a light on that and, helping people become more informed and show up and hold their legislators' feet to the fire, I'll be happy with that outcome.
All right. We've got a caller with a question for you, Matt. Go ahead, caller. Please, you're on the air.
Remember the Tea Party? Because of Obama, we had all these people deciding to run for office. Rubio, Cruz, Rand Paul. others, and we all thought, gee, you know, they could all, well, a lot of them ran for president. But you see, as time went on, they have no longer, you don't hear from them as much. And so, you know, you wonder if they, you know, like you say, what happens to them? It's just like Mike Simpson from Idaho. I don't know what term he's on, but he's been in there forever. He's a citizen of D.C., a person that goes to church with him, who I happen to know, and it was just a coincidence, said that he doesn't come to church because he doesn't live in Idaho, and he has no intentions of moving back here. He's very, you know, comfortable. His wife and him are both very comfortable living as D.C. residents, and they intend to stay. And when the foolish people of Idaho quit re-electing this pain in the butt, then he'll just go into the lobbying. And you see, we'll never really get rid of him, and he's become rich, and he couldn't care less about us because I never hear a damn thing from the guy. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, if you would, please, Matt. Go ahead.
Oh, I missed the question. Couldn't hear him.
Well, basically, it was a statement, and I'm sorry that you couldn't hear, but he was saying that even here in the state of Idaho, we've got some long-time legislators back in D.C. that basically are a part of the system, and they have a comfort zone knowing that probably they're going to stay there until they want to retire, not until the voters tell them to go. That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's a huge issue. Just look at the Obamacare fight, right? You had 36 votes on Obamacare, and Republicans, everyone who ran in 2014, voted for full repeal, knowing that that was an axiomatic impossibility so long as the chief architect and namesake was in the White House. Now Republicans have the White House, the Senate, and the House, and they can't pass anything vaguely resembling what was once promised to us for many years. So, how to oust an incumbent, I can't answer that question. A lot of it just comes down to you got to start finding, the young guns who are willing to really challenge these people and to go against the system, similar to what Dave Bratt did in Virginia against Cantor a few years ago.
Right. Now, what about the, I'll call it a film or a docuseries, whatever you want to call it, The Swamp? How can my listeners see it and learn from it?
Yeah, so every episode is up for free on the Facebook page, facebook.com/The Swamp. The first one went up last week, and we're going to roll out every episode every couple of weeks. And the next one's going to be on the omnibus bill, but this new speaker race is going to play out courtside in the series over the next couple of months.
I have a feeling that you, Matt Whitworth, are maybe in some cases going to be the most disliked man in Washington, D.C.
Hey, I hope so. You asked my parents, and I've liked stirring the pot since I was about 3, so that comes natural.
Well, let me ask you, how did you get started doing this? I mean, all of a sudden, you don't just all of a sudden say that you're going to have a docuseries that's going to lay bare the real ugliness of Washington, D.C. How did you get your start in this?
Yeah, so I'm a young guy, 28, and I think that's one of the things that would sort of surprise people. When you go into these congressmen's offices, all of the staff are late 20s and in their 30s. So I had a lot of friends who worked on the Hill, and I would hear the stories and the rumors about the arm twisting and some of the things that played out behind the scenes. And I just thought it would be fascinating if you could find a group of members who were willing to be totally candid and to share those stories publicly. So once we sort of had the idea for the series and we were able to find these guys and they latched onto the concept pretty quickly, it moved forward pretty quickly.
Now, you started with these freshman senators and congressmen, and now you've said that you're going to try to do one on the omnibus bill. That, to me, would be highly interesting to see where our money is going and how it's being wasted. What kind of a twist are you going to use on that tape that's going to make it different than other tapes that have been done?
I think we ask the questions that do not elicit talking point responses from these guys, which is what you normally see on any other news program. We're in there having in-depth, highly personal conversations with them, and I get to really ask them one-on-one some of the questions that I think average citizens would love to be able to ask. So on the omnibus bill, I mean, I asked all of these guys point blank, why does Congress wait until the very last minute to get things done?
Yeah.
And there's a reason that they do it, and a lot of it is just, because of secrecy. So those are the conversations, those are the questions that we're going to ask these guys, and you're going to see them strategizing with each other behind the scenes. How do we slow down this piece of legislation? How do we kill this piece of legislation that I don't think anyone's ever been able to see before?
Let me ask you this quickly. The terminology that's on our Constitution, we the people, that's not true anymore because we the people, I'm one of the people, and I don't want my money to go to a hamster on a treadmill. I don't want it to go to various and sundry ways of wasting money instead of having it go for the public good. How do we get these people to understand that somehow we the people have to have a revolution against government to the point where they work for us, we don't work for them?
I really can't even answer that question. I hate to use the line above my pay grade, but whatever we can do to pass term limits, and I know that these guys are going to be grandfathered in, right? The ones who are there, they're going to be safe or whatever. And if it would only apply to new members, that would make a huge difference moving forward. Trying to undo this system that's been in place for decades to insulate and protect these guys.
But after you finish the first of your docuseries, The Swamp, I'm just going to ask you a very simple question. Is the problem curable, or is it too far gone?
No, I think it's curable. But it's going to be much more complicated than saying, oh, I'm going to vote for this person because he has a D next to his name, or I'm going to vote for this person just because he has an R next to his name. That is something that we have to move away from.
Well, I'm excited about what you're doing, and please, I know you're going to become very famous. I know you're going to be hailed as the number one man in this regard, but don't forget us and come back on this program in the future. I'd love to have you back.
Zeb, always a pleasure to be on with you.
All right, sir. Thank you, and God's blessings. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks. Talk to you soon.
I have absolutely, I urge you to watch that docuseries. I saw a little bit of it the other night, and it just held me spellbound as to these new senators and congressmen that felt like, whoa, what did we get ourselves into? What's happening here? How can they just throw around the term billions, not millions, but billions in such careless fashion and spend money here on this? Well, it's only $7 billion. Well, it's only $14 billion. That's our money. And that's why I urge you to try to get hold of this taping and watch this docuseries called The Swamp. It's available on Facebook Watch, and the director, Matt Whitworth, just on our program, and he's going to come back. The wastage and the waste of time is absolutely unbelievable. That upset me. And, boy, I can't wait to have him back. Now, I've got a couple of things to take care of real fast. I want to remind you about Airvana, or Airvana, whichever it is, defined as the ultimate level of comfort. I've got a cough drop in my mouth. Excuse me just a moment. There we go. Ultimate level of comfort that you'll achieve with the presence of a new Lennox home comfort system. And when you buy a new Lennox system at Ramsey Heating and Electric, you can get up to $1,700 in rebates. I'm not kidding. Airvana is just another way to make you feel better at home. So call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459 or go to their website, Ramsey'sOnline.com. Absolutely. We have everything, thanks to my lovely bride, information about the Bennett Boys sale. My goodness, yes, the Bennett Boys auction service. And they're going to have the Hadel Estate auction with tractors and backhoes and crawlers and dozers and all kinds of haying equipment and trucks and pickups and motorhomes. Holy moly! That's all coming up this Saturday, April 14th, up in Hammond, Idaho. Look for the signs, Bennett Boys auction service. Remember, no sale too big, no sale too small. The Bennett Boys sell them all. Call Joe if you need more information at 539-0111. Bennett Boys Auction Service. Let me see where I'm at right now. right here in the chair, talking to you, and we're going to go over to the main studio in a moment, and Sean's got some announcements for us, and then we're going to come back momentarily with a lady that I just love having on the show. Her name is Liberty McCarter, and she writes for thestream.org, and she's got a very interesting story here for us this morning. Right now, Sean, it's all yours. Take it away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, thank you very much and welcome back. Do not forget what's going on this weekend. It's the great big Salmon Select Horse Sale and Mule Sale up at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon. Fred Snook and the whole outfit have got a Jim Dandy sale planned for you, Idaho's premier horse sale this weekend. Don't forget they're going to start on Thursday with all kinds of daily activities. They're going to have a wolf howling contest. They're going to have all kinds of demonstrations. Friday, of course, the great big mule sale. Saturday, the huge horse sale. Oh, it's a happening. They've got all kinds of Western vendors up there. It's going to be really a full day and night activity at the Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon this weekend. Don't you miss it. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line again, and every single time I have this lady on my program, she always does a great job, and she's going to be talking about a subject this morning that it just knocked me backwards when I heard that the Women's March was advocating basically sex trafficking ads on the computer. What? Here is my favorite person, Liberty McCarter. Good morning. How are you with thestream.org?
I'm doing great, Zeb. It's so great to be back here.
You know, what in the world? Can you tie this story all together? This has just left me baffled after I heard about it 2 days ago.
It left me baffled, too. I mean, you would think if there's one bipartisan issue that the left and the right can come together on, it would be to be against sex trafficking, especially of children.
Yeah.
But that turned out not to be the case. Y'all probably heard last week that the big website Backpage.com was shut down by federal authorities, and this was kind of like a Craigslist, except it was notorious for having ads for prostitution and sex trafficking, including of minors. And so people had suspected this was going on for a long time, but after a bipartisan congressional investigation, they finally got evidence that the owners and employees at Backpage knew what was going on. They were facilitating the sex trafficking, including of children. They were laundering money and pocketing money from the profits from those sex trafficking ads. And so the website was shut down. Really great victory for this current administration. But the Women's March decided that they didn't like that. They tweeted last weekend, "The shutting down of Backpage is an absolute crisis for sex workers who rely on the site to safely get in touch with clients." They didn't mention anything about the millions of women and children who have been sold against their will on this website, or the people who use it, for other kinds of illegal things like that. And they still haven't come out and said that, they're glad that a lot of these victims are finally getting justice or won't be sold on there anymore. They're upset that it's getting shut down.
I'm sitting here and my mouth is just hanging open because I can't believe what I'm hearing, that the Women's March and its supporters that supposedly speak for women's rights are advocating an illicit criminal activity such as prostitution and sex trafficking of children. My mind is blown. I'm sorry.
It's really troubling, and especially when you learn more about what Backpage has actually done. Some of the things that came out in the congressional investigation, they had an automated filter that when a user wanted to post an ad for a trafficking ad for prostitution, if it had words that would indicate that the person was a minor, like teenage, young girl, whatever, it would just automatically filter those words out. So employees didn't report, we have somebody posting a child sex trafficking ad. It just cleaned up the ad so that you didn't see those red flag words, and then it allowed the ad to post anyway. And there were other things like that. The Washington Post investigation actually revealed that They had a contractor in the Philippines who was actively recruiting more prostitutes and more pimps to run their ads on Backpage.com so they could make more money off of it. And this is a really troubling statistic, and this is the last thing I'll mention right now. 73% of all child trafficking reports that the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children receives are involved with Backpage.
Oh, my.
So this website was involved in over 70% of child sex trafficking reports.
You know, I guess maybe I'm an old, naive prude somehow, but how in the world could the Women's March and the leadership of that organization and Hollywood and all their crybaby attitude against the Harvey Weinsteins and others, how can they stand up and defend this?
Well, it's hard to fathom. I think this is actually something that I'm going to dig into a little more, so you can keep an eye out for it if you want. But I think the idea is that there are people who are not forced into sex trafficking. They choose to do what they call sex work, and that, you know, it's a very vulnerable profession. Obviously, a lot of women get abused and murdered in that profession, and so they think that, you know, well, we should try to protect those women in that profession. No, if it's a bad profession that exploits women and fosters abuse, then we need to just eradicate it, and we need to help women to where they don't ever either get kidnapped and forced into it or feel like they ever have to turn to that if they're hard up for money or whatever. So that's really what I'm going to explore more in the future. But another victory that people in their right mind can celebrate is that today President Trump, he didn't announce it, it was pretty quiet, but he actually signed a bill that will stop websites from Backpage from getting away with this kind of thing in the future. It actually allows websites to be held accountable when their users are using that website to promote prostitution and sex trafficking. So that was a victory today. Again, the Women's March is not celebrating, but I think a lot of Americans are.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Let's back up just for a minute. I will agree and I will be accepting if a person is over 21 years of age, excuse me, they have control over their own road in life. But when you start talking about the sex trafficking of minors and children, I will bring down the hammer that's going to break the mold, because I think they should be arrested. They should throw the key away. I can't believe this is happening.
Right, and you know, that's one of the hard things about websites like Backpage that, you know, promote prostitution is, like I was saying earlier, like the congressional investigation found, you can't really tell who's technically above the legal age or not. I mean, it's all bad, but, you know, again, it's a little bit different if you have a consenting adult willingly doing this, even though you might disagree with that, versus a child being forced into this. But what the websites will do is they will either coach the users to say, hey, don't put these words in or otherwise the ad's going to get taken down, or they'll just filter out the ads and clean it up. And so you end up getting a lot of underage, you know, kids, boys, girls, everybody being sold, even though to the outside world, all of the indicators that they are minors has been taken away. So there's no way to really tell, and I think that's what groups like the Women's March is missing. You cannot easily differentiate between people who are of the legal age and people who are not. It's way too fuzzy, and pimps and all the other, you know, horrible people out there that foster this kind of thing, they're going to do everything they can to hide it just to make money, and they don't care if you're of the legal age or not.
You know, Liberty, when you think about this whole story, and you think about the liberal left, and you think about the Democratic Party, and you think about them trying to go out and gain support to take over the House and possibly the Senate at the midterms this November, and then members of their own party with the Women's March, etc., are advocating this kind of filth and sleaze, what does that tell you about America and where we're at today? How low can we go?
Well, it's very troubling, and I think it shows, you know, an ideological inconsistency on the part of the left. And I will point out that when it comes to Congress, there has been a huge bipartisan support and effort to investigate Backpage and get this bill passed that President Trump signed today. what I'm interested to see is if members of the Democratic Party that have supported this effort to curb online sex trafficking and other liberals who have spoken out against sex trafficking, if they will hold the Women's March to account, because that's their own camp. If they will disassociate themselves from the Women's March, or if they will say, hey, you're wrong on this. Because you can't, on the one hand, vote for a bill that will shut down Backpage.com and other similar websites, and then, go around and turn the women's and support the Women's March, who's, saying that they don't want Backpage to be shut down. You have to draw a line in the sand somewhere, and I'm wondering if Democrats will do that and hold them accountable.
I wonder, as a sidelight, if Hollywood, what kind of a stand some of the loudmouths in Hollywood will take over this. Which way do you think they'll go, whether it's the late-night TV show hosts or whether it's different women's groups or actresses? What do you think they're going to say?
I think a lot of people tried to kind of straddle the line. One thing in my story I note is that there's a documentary that's come out called I Am Jane Doe, and it actually interviews a lot of women and girls who have been trafficked on Backpage.com before it was shut down. And it's narrated by Jessica Chastain, who's a big Hollywood liberal star. And so you have a lot of liberal voices in Hollywood speaking up against sex trafficking, but at the same time they try to say, we're against sex trafficking, but let's try to support sex workers. But it's just, you kind of can't do both, honestly. It's all a big industry. It's all interconnected. A lot of women who say they go into the industry voluntarily will come out years later and say it was very hard to leave, and they actually felt pressured or forced into it. So it's really just an evil industry, and you can't try to straddle the line and say you're for one and against the other. That's just not going to work, as we see with the Women's March. Because then they're supporting a website that has promoted the sex trafficking of children.
How in the world do they, the left, come out and show support for this issue and use the terminology sex workers as if it were in the same vein as secretarial services or salesmen needed to sell fuller brushes? How do they get away with this? Because it's an illegal, illicit, and prohibited act that is against the law.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to a messed up philosophy and a messed up worldview that, it comes down to the my body, my choice thing. It extends not just to abortion, but to all kinds of harmful behaviors. And if you really have that kind of mindset that the body is just a commodity to do whatever you want with, you're going to end up, supporting abortion, euthanasia, prostitution, which is extremely exploitive and abusive, even if you say you choose to go into it. And so it's an illogical inconsistency. It's a broken worldview that says this is okay, and it really shows, that we don't have the moral understanding in our society that we've had in the past. Things weren't perfect in the past, but I think, on a lot of issues like this, we better understood what it meant to truly value human life.
Absolutely.
And the left does not understand that. And that extends all the way to things like prostitution and sex trafficking, where obviously they're very confused and have it all wrong.
I don't want you to give away any of your thunder, but boy, now that you've opened up this box of problems, how are you going to pursue this problem next? I mean, what are you going to try to uncover?
Well, right now I'm reaching out to a lot of different national and local organizations that help women either avoid or escape prostitution. And what I'm going to focus on is this Women's March, their concern for women who are not necessarily kidnapped, but they are poor or discriminated against or whatever, and so they feel like their only option is to turn to prostitution.
Right.
Well, the Women's March answer is to say, okay, well then let's support their profession. My answer would be to say, how do we help them so that they never have to go to that option?
Absolutely.
And so I'm trying to talk with different organizations who help women like that, to try to enlighten communities and churches, et cetera, of how we can help those women and really just try to end prostitution so that there's no demand for it and women don't ever feel like they have to turn to that.
Let me ask you, have you approached or are you going to approach and try to get comments from the leadership of the Women's March and see what they say?
I've been, watching them to see the different they said, on Twitter that they were going to continue talking about this topic, so I think it would definitely be interesting to see what their comments are on this. So we'll see what they say. We'll see if I can get a response from them. I really want to focus on organizations who are not just trying to legalize prostitution or sex work, but actually trying to help the women who are involved in that and help them escape it. But it'll be interesting to see, if the Women's March would respond to me.
Liberty, I really compliment and commend you for what you do and your writings. Why don't you tell my audience so that if someone out there is not aware of what we're talking about, they can read it in its entirety. Please tell my audience how they can find this story and read it and be informed by it.
But the story is up at stream.org. You can search my name, Liberty McCarter, if you want to find my writings. If you want to look at this particular story, you can search Backpage at stream.org, and I'm also on Twitter at Liberty McCarter.
Liberty, thank you so much. You've always hit a home run on my program and be very, very explanatory about the various subjects. Thank you so much for the work you do, and I will say keep up the good work. Thank you for being on the program.
Thanks, Zeb.
All right. Liberty McCarter with the stream, and this is insane. This really is insane that the Women's March is backing illegal prostitution and child trafficking. What? You tell me. Go ahead, I dare you to tell me that our society isn't going to hell. Time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, Don Scarrow and the crew, 324-7657. Or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. I start drooling every time I start thinking about Scarro's Meats with the marinated prime ribs and the smoked hams and all the bacons and the breakfast sausages and the bratwurst. Oh my! It is absolutely delicious. They do a tremendous job serving you at Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Right now, old Sean's going to have the weather with Gina, and we'll be right back. Go ahead.
Today is going to be the calm before the storm, windstorm that is. Here's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch. Partly sunny skies for today. We are expecting a high of 62. Winds out of the west-southwest right around 15 miles an hour, gusts possible as high as 24 miles an hour. For tonight, in come the rain showers mostly after midnight with a low of 38. Winds are going to be picking up tonight because tomorrow we are going to be in a wind advisory. Winds could gust as high as 50 miles an hour, steady out of the west, right around 20 miles an hour. 60% chance of rain showers, little to no snow accumulation is expected, but we're only going to see a high of 45. For tomorrow night, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 30. Wind should be dying down just a little bit. For Friday, mostly sunny skies with a high of 50. And for Friday night, mostly clear with a low of 31. That's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. And the weather brought to you by Don Scarrow and the crew at Scarro's Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome, the number to call, and I urge you to do so, 324-7657. And they are at Scarro's Meats, changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. I've got time for a couple of calls. Give me a jingle right now at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And some of the great guests that we've had this morning have been phenomenal in the way that they've presented the different stories and everything. So I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. Give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. Quickly, I got time. Let's see what else have I got cooking here. Oh, Doreen McMurray sent me this note, and I want to be sure and get this on. If you're planning to vote, and you should, Cassia County Republican Party caller, I'll be right there, stand by, will host a candidate forum where you can meet and hear from the candidates running for office in the upcoming May election. It's going to be Thursday, April 26th at the Burley High School Little Theater. Doors open at 6 p.m., and the forum begins at 7. Caller, thank you for your patience. Good morning. You're on the air.
You know, Zeb, last night on Tucker, they had a lady on there defending Backpage, and I didn't even know anything about it. And then, of course, I learned more just now. And, you know, they're defending the open, you know, the openness of sex and porn. And And see, I guess, we have to decide, what's more important, money or our children. And you see, just a little example of this, Matt Bevin, who is the governor of Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken, seems to be a pretty grounded man. He was in a gun forum. They were having an interview. He was interviewed at a gun forum, and he was questioned about his, what he was thinking about gun control, and he said, well, gun control never works. But as he went on, he says, what it really is our society is breaking down. And he says, virtually every child that has access to the internet or social media, he says, 12 and up. And this is a scary thought, Zeb, because I got granddaughters and grandsons. He says 12 years and up, he says that most likely they've been exposed to porn.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you this, Randy. When you look and hear about stories, and I saw this on the news starting a couple of days ago, where many of the leaders and the advocates of the Women's March were coming onto the television set, or they were giving quotes in newspapers about how they were supportive of sex workers. Let's just be really blunt here. In other words, the left, with their sleaze and their vileness in society, they are absolutely supporting the complete chaotic mess in society of standing up for something that's illegal and promoting something that's illegal, and also for the trafficking of children in the sex industry. When are people going to wake up and say, my goodness, if this is part of the Democratic platform and part of the liberals' beliefs, I don't want anything to do with it?
Well, it's always comes back to the liberals, the sexualists, whatever. They're just, they cannot, they're so hypocritical that the word hypocritical does not describe them. It's worse. And you see, when they talk about sexual abuse, wherever it might be, but then they turn around and promote the very thing that leads to it, you see, it just, who believes them?
Yeah.
Who believes any of this?
Well,
people that are in on the fix, that want to have, the freedom. I mean, nothing. It doesn't. I can't even describe it. It makes no sense whatsoever. And how they get away with it, I don't know.
Well, I'll just say this: after the segment with Matt Whitworth regarding the stream, or regarding the docuseries called "The Swamp" back in Washington D.C., and then having Liberty coming on and talking about the sleaziness of the Women's March, I'm telling you, Randy, we've got a great big cleanup job, and I'm not going to quit on this program. I got to run, but I certainly appreciate your comments. Thank you very much. We need to stand up and be counted, and we need to make our voices heard. Don't weaken, people. We've got a lot of mess to clean up in this country. Want to remind you about our dear friends and our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, absolutely serving you, with a great big spring tire sale going on right now. Right now, you don't want to miss this. Roll into spring worry-free on safe driving tires from your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And don't forget, along with that, the best in brake service and front-end alignments and shocks and struts and batteries. But above all, go back to the word service. They really take care of you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. None better. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. That's going to wrap it up and put it back in the box for me today. I'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06. We'll saddle the horse and ride for 3 hours right here on K-Bar 1230 a.m. and streaming live on the internet all over the world on ZebBell.com. And we always say the way things were are the way things ought to be. Here's a good word for Tommy Ahlquist, and then Sean's going to take us up to CBS News.